Uh, Hello and welcome to the Caspule Cast Playoffs Round 2 and 3 week. I am your host, Destiny, with my co-host here, Doorguard.
What's happening?
And here we have a special guest, Coach of Dirt, Fiora.
Good to be back.
Hey, and a welcome back to you, my friend. But hey, we got a really spicy week here for people. So should we just get into it?
Yeah, let's hop right in.
All right, going into North Kai round 2 and 3, we have hybrids and Budokai. Budokai taking away the set, hybrids at least making it, so it goes to round 3. And I think round 2, this match went really one-sided with hybrids, uh, with Ultimate Gohan, and then round 3 was Budokai just tagged away the win. So, Dor, what do you got to say on this match?
Yeah, it was definitely a very interesting one. It was kind of fun to see both teams start with their LVP, kind of get their weak link out early, just get going, see what happens. And it's relatively even, but Cyber Tao obviously doing a little better. Lots of good back and forth, but obviously, at least for round 2, Star was Ultimate Gohan, just hitting a lot of max. He kept doing his B1 to go max power and give himself a super boost, and then he would full charge like a Kamehameha for like 15k onto someone's face. So he just let loose in that match for sure, and most likely official stats on him aren't out for us when we're recording this, but very much most likely got an elite performance for round 2, which really helped his team, especially since a lot of the other members have just been kind of struggling this season, especially this off season here against Budokai. But we're talking about round 3 as well right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, then obviously in round 3, just Ultimate Gohan got shut down. He didn't necessarily do bad, but a non-elite performance mixed with everybody else kind of just barely doing their 40k allowed Budokai to just kind of overlap them with a couple little higher hitters and 18 and Murktau. So overall, pretty decent series. Hybrids at least took it to 3 rounds, which is a good, mark. Obviously not quite as good. The same spot they dropped out last year, so they're probably not as happy. But it does mean they get to start testing, where Budokai is in a similar position to last year, trying to fight their way up into that 3rd place spot. So overall, pretty decent series, I'd say. I'd say both teams really put out a lot here and put in a good chunk of effort as well. What about you, Fiora? What did you think about the North Kai matches here?
It's funny that you mentioned hybrids getting shut down, and I just can't help but really feel bad for hybrids in general during, especially round 3. Like Kid Gohan, he tried to use his ult, but he got kicked and grabbed out of it both times, so just completely shut down there. Store Trunks always ended up having to fight 18 during all 3 rounds of this North Kai trio of matches, and he would always do poorly against her because I guess she's just a pretty bad matchup for him. And Teen Gohan really didn't get to do much, just in general. Like, in the 2nd round, he had to only like a bar and a half of cleanup to do because of how much work Ultimate Gohan put in. And I don't really remember him doing anything much in round 3 either.
I'm pretty sure in round 3 he
But
came out and died.
Well, I guess so. He did do something. He died. But I will say, I'm the one who got that little Ultimate Gohan stats there. Hybrid stats weren't in by the time we recorded this, so I figured, hey, I think he won the lead. I just want to make sure on that. I will say, good on hybrids ending their season on a high note, getting an elite before getting kicked out.
Yep. But also,
Yeah.
Congratulations
There's not
to Budokai.
too much to say outside of the fact that hybrids have obviously already been struggling a good bit for a little while, though they did end in the 2nd place spot. Necessarily didn't have a bad season, but their inconsistent woes certainly came out at probably the worst time for them. which has just, you know, made it quite difficult for them to move on. However, we did get to see Budokai, who's doing the opposite right now, which is getting a lot of their weak spots kind of ironed out for this off season, which is exactly what you need to do to push through, especially if you want to get to the finals. Seeing is how that's usually where you need your full 5. So, yeah, good job to Budokai. Better luck next year, hybrids.
With that, do we want to move on to Isekai?
I just want to make this quick comment here. You mentioned ironing out their weak links. Cyborg Tao was Budokai's LVP by a wide margin until the last week of the main season and here during playoffs. His average was like 20k prior to that, and now he's doing much, much better.
Yeah, he is doing his man.
To be fair, though, he was against an opponent's LVP, so it's not like he's necessarily performing like super well. He's more or less just kind of doing what you'd expect, and he's getting the better of the 50-50 against other weaker opponents. But still, that's what you need. Any character beating another character. There's just, I think, a slight caveat there.
You just gotta do your damage.
Yep.
Moving on, we have Isekai, round 2, and, well, round 2. Namek taking away the victory here. Not to say GT didn't do well, though. GT, I believe, at least brought it into a 1 character, only needing that last character to get through Namek, and sadly it just didn't go their way. With we don't have GT stats as of recording this, obviously, but and Piccolo and Nova kind of doing their thing. Nail actually doing considerably well considering his performance this season, and Tam and King just doing what they need to finish off the match. So
I kind of feel like there's a little bit of a counterpoint here, is that I think they may have won by an even bigger margin, because they had like 6 health bars left at the end, minimum.
I think Namek had the biggest, won by the biggest amount this week.
Yeah, they were the only team that 2-0'd, and they won both rounds relatively convincingly. Round 1 was was certainly a good bit closer, but round 2 was unfortunately not too close for GT. They kind of got just outdone there by a good margin, which certainly stinks, but they are, you know, back into testing. It's only their 2nd season, and they made it to playoffs both years, so it's not too bad. Just certainly not as good as you know, they would like.
And this playoff was without the bye week, so we got to see what they could do in the first round and second round.
Yep.
Has got anything else?
Well, Fiora hasn't quite made comments on this match.
Yeah, I haven't really spoken on the match.
So, good comments, Fiora.
So
Moving
one
on to the
comment
next match.
on what Thor's said. Let's move on. Yeah, I will say it's kind of tragic just how one-sided it was for this match. Because at the very least, if it was a lot closer, I'm pretty sure GT would feel a lot better about the loss. Like if they were like losing within 2-3 bars even. But losing by that big of a margin has to really hurt. And something that also really hurts is, despite the fact that their season is over now, they still can't test Baby for reasons we will get to shortly. So just a rough spot to be in if you're a GT supporter. Hopefully, Zal's form testing that he has planned out, like I've heard they plans on testing Super Saiyan 1 in the off season. I hope it goes well for him. Just hopefully when they get Baby back, they can get him in relatively similar working order to how he was last season, because last season Baby was without a doubt their best member and one of the top 10 of the league.
I mean, again, GT, young team. Also, most of their characters have mostly just floated around as free agents or extra characters on master lists, and some of them still hold on to some nerfs. Like Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta has a really bad rush due to the fact that they made it cost a lot and not deal a lot of damage. But something that may be looked into, though he is certainly not a character struggling to deal his damage. It's just something of note is that they do have a little bit of modifications, and this is the first year they were allowed to have Omega Shenron. And, you know, it's not a starting form, and it doesn't have a lot of
And-
upside outside of better B2s, so it's
Yeah,
taken
they're
some time.
And
yeah,
technically,
they're not over.
I was also gonna say,
Sorry, you go
technically,
ahead.
I was gonna say, technically, if they wanted, this is also the first season they could go to Super Saiyan 4 Goku. They obviously didn't build for it, but it was a possibility.
Yeah, that is certainly something they can look into. They have, last year I believe they did Super Saiyan 3 Goku just to give him his highest stat form, but this year they went with base because he has one of the best ults in that form. And then obviously they've disabled the ability to do all that other
Fuse.
stuff, all the fusion stuff. So it's allowed for them, if they want to be opened up to more versatility.
Go ahead, Fiora.
I was gonna say, on the subject of nerfs, he wasn't overly nerfed like a certain robot with a certain barrage that we all know someone will never let it go, myself included.
Yeah.
At the very least, GT can get away knowing they weren't too badly nerfed.
Well, it's still about a 4-bar 6k. It's just a straight line rush, and he doesn't use it very often, so you don't
Mhm.
notice
It
it.
does about 8k. It's just
No,
or-
it does less than that. Trust me.
I'm pretty sure
He,
I'm pretty sure it looks to do 8k because he normally combos into it.
yeah, he never just raw does it very often. He usually has to do a grab or something into it, and because he's on attack +2, the grab does a lot.
Mhm.
It's just one of those things where, again, the reason Super 17 seems so bad is he basically always gets to max key, being an android, and he just has a really high base key charge as well, so he just gets to full bars a lot.
Mhm.
So he uses that one a lot.
And most of the time he just raw throws out Hellstorms.
Yeah, it just seems that, well, there's not really any other way to use it, to be fair.
That is fair. Yeah.
his grab doesn't really combo into B2s all that well.
No, not at all. So, yep, there's a lot of things, and that's what I was saying, like, there's just all kinds of stuff with that team that's still in the works and getting figured out, and they've had changes every season so far.
Yeah, but hey, only being a 2-season lifelong team and making it to playoffs postseason, not a bad showing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
definitely a decent start for a brand new team.
Mm-hmm.
Better than some other brand new teams we got.
Cinema.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
Cinema.
about. I mean, obviously the biggest thing to take note here is that Namek is looking extremely good. And I know we're talking about Muscle and Resurrected Warriors coming in, but I think Namek are starting to really show to be a very scary squad, and they're going to be a very rough 5 to take out.
Actually, there is one more thing I wanted to say. Technically, this could have been a grudge match because of the new Lova for Namek.
The Nova and Sin fighting? Is that right? Is that what you're getting at?
No, it's because Namek and GT fought for possession over New Lova.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. That grudge match.
Yeah, I was going to say that, speaking of like Namek being really strong, to sort of off what we were going with Door, even Nail showed up both matches. Like, that's really scary because Nail has been by far Namek's weakest link. But during playoffs, he just woke up. I don't know, maybe Guru unlocked some of his hidden potential. I'm not sure.
A lot that could happen here.
Mm-hmm.
I think I don't really have anything else to say, I should say, for this match. I think it's mostly coming down to next matchups, and for the most part, what is GT going to do in this offseason?
Yep. So, should we move on?
Shall we move on to Westsky?
I'm good.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Alright, moving on, we have Westsky I did not fix that. Never mind. We have Westsky round 2 and 3 with Royals versus Rugrats. Royals taking home the set with with outstanding 2-win victory in the last stream. For round 2 here, we have Baby actually showing up to be their MVP, and a nice little tidbit is we got to see Majin Vegeta explode. Always love seeing Majin Vegeta explode. And then
And it did 20,000 even after one of the 6 ticks were dodged.
and then
Oh.
also another thing in round 3, we didn't even get to see Baby Vegeta come out.
What?
Yeah, we didn't see Baby come out round 3.
Yeah, round 3. I was like, round
Yeah.
2 he definitely did. Even transformed, and then he died.
Yeah, I did.
No, he tagged. He didn't die. I would know. I did Royal stats for this week. I had to rewatch the match.
Not to knock Rugrats though. They did pretty well in round 2, and just round 3 was just kind of one of their best people got into one of her bad matchups, which was Majin Vegeta versus Rayleigh, and Cyberman also got the revenge treatment of Majin Vegeta.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of things that came to play here. Obviously, a lot of people were wondering if Gotenks would be a major factor.
Mhm.
It was not done, at least in this round, or in this. They might have done it if they had moved on, but not here. And there's just all kinds of different subtleties that happened. Cell Jr. basically had nothing to do in the first round, where Cyberman had nothing to do in the second round, which is obviously very bad in a 5-man format when you have one character doing it, no damage.
Mhm.
Even Majin Vegeta, who looked like he was going to die after doing like 10k and it was going to be absolutely awful, managed to pull out a 20k ult. And then just everybody else just kind of being decent, you know, Baby, Meta, Slug, Videl having a pop-off round in round 1, but not so much in round 2. And obviously round 2, Majin Vegeta woke up. So just lots of things came down to just, and that's just kind of the hard part with playoffs is, especially in these more even matches, who's 5 has all 5 doing their job. And obviously the one that did was Royals. Rugrats unfortunately had one character falter each time, and sometimes even more, which is obviously just spells their demise.
I think it was also hard to decide because, if I remember correctly, we've seen veterans on Royals, like their characters in 5s before, but we haven't seen their team as a 5, if I'm correct.
Yeah, this is Royals' first time in playoffs, and they have a loan and a free agent. So obviously a lot of crazy factors going in for them that they really are having to work through right now. So
yeah, a loan, trade, free agent, a lot of things. But Fiora, what do you have on this match?
First thing, this is why I said GT won't be allowed to test Baby for a while, because of the way the rulings work, until Royals are eliminated, they can't test Baby, because if they did, it would just be free information for Royals to use.
What's more like, it's not because of that, it's that the character is currently taken. Like, it would do with any character on any master list. Like,
so Royals,
like hybrids can't test Goten right now, not because like they don't want to, but because like he's just not available on their master list. So there's just different restrictions. They could test against Goten and put builds on him per se, like that's a little workaround, obviously due to the specific circumstance. But in terms of that, it has more so to do with if the character's not available for you to use, you're not supposed to, like, that's why people can't test free agents prior to gaining the free agents. You have to be available to actually have the character run for you first. So, but yeah,
fair enough.
It's the same point. They can't test them.
Yeah, at the end of the day, GT won't be allowed to test Baby until Royals are kicked out. Or if, who knows, maybe Royals takes the whole bowl. That would really suck, losing so much potential test time, but we'll just have to see how that turns out. Another
Maybe.
thing is that there was some comments, like some questions of if Majin Vegeta went elite, and I can confidently say no. There was no chance that he went elite. It only felt like it because O'Reilly, Cell Jr., and Cyberman each did a health pushback.
Mhm.
And he fought all three of them during those health pushbacks, so it just felt like he did a lot more than he did. Don't get me wrong, 91,000 damage is still absolutely insane. It's just he couldn't hit that elite status.
Oh yeah. Also, more of a meme sad note. We did finally get the death of the snowman alloy.
It's funny because that was what they said they wanted to do all season.
Was to kill the snowman, and he lived the entire season until the last playoff match.
It wasn't by like the Baby or Metacooler doing a barrage. It wasn't by Majin Vegeta self-destructing.
It wasn't by Rugrats' hand either.
Metacooler just flew right through him.
Yeah, sometimes you have to kill your most important ally to win.
I wouldn't say ally as much as most important supporter of the team. He's moral support.
Hype man.
Without him, Royals would be nothing.
A hype man. But that's all I really want to say about this match. All I really can think of, at least.
Yeah, I mean, congrats to Royals. Their first time in playoffs, going a little bit further than some people may have expected. It's hard to say. They had a lot of factors, as said before. So it's going to be fun to see how far they do and, how well they, or, what spot they end up here in the postseason. Unfortunate for Rugrats. However, I do know they've been wanting to get some testing done since they had a lot of ideas. They didn't have time to kind of work into this last season. So that's that for me. You, Fiora, you have any final remarks?
No, I've said about everything I wanted to for this match.
Alright, so let's get moving on then to South Kai round 2 and 3, with Dirt taking home the victory for the set, but Cold making it to round 3. So round 2 just looks like Doorguard didn't do his man. That's kind of sealed the deal, I believe. Round 3 is where it gets a little spicy. Primarily one moment, Hercule did his rush B2 like 2 to 3 times, stunned King Cold, champion styled him, killed him with a melee combo, and then did a combo and 2 B2s to kill the last 2 bars of Cooler before you could even transform.
That a transition for me?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, when it comes down to it, I think just like with the North Kai, it really came down to just who had more characters performing at their better, skill, or performing to a higher skill, and Dirk just kind of came out with their characters doing a bit more. It does help, obviously, having people pop off, Hercule having 2 very good rounds, and Cold has been known, or have been having a little bit of struggles. 100% Frieza was looking a little shaky throughout the season. Cooler was kind of hit or miss some weeks. Obviously, they had some really good guys like King Cold and Zarbon, and Mecha Frieza have been holding it down, but their big hitters, or some of the characters, I should say, with their higher ceilings in the Cooler Frieza brothers, just couldn't quite hold their act together all 3 rounds to kind of secure the win for their team. Allowing Derp, who have had their characters been running at really good efficiency. Maybe not for the full season. I think Doorguard has been a person in a lot of rough moments lately, but was able to do his job well enough to hold out for the win here. Though, their Cold did well. They managed to hold Vegito down mostly well. Salsa and Supreme Kai didn't really get to do too much either round. it mostly came down to Hercule just hitting some big combos and helping his team do it, and the others doing enough so that it's really helped. But that's kind of what you expect from teams. They're, trump card to do a lot of work and everybody else to kind of do enough so that it pushes through the win, and that'll get you pretty good. So yeah, Fiora, on your own match, what are some of the, I guess, main matchups or worries you had going in?
So going into this match, my biggest concern was Cooler and Frieza, and if they would be paired up against Salza. Because, Salza is just defense and healing. Like, he has the one indignation, his one offensive-oriented Portara, but that's it. And spammers, especially ult spammers like Frieza or Cooler, can just annihilate him. I was a bit concerned about also how Zarbon would just destroy a good chunk of my team, because those grabs are ridiculous. Although, funny enough, Zarbon only got like 2 grabs off between both matches. And I'm just gonna say, round 2 was painful. Like, specifically on my home map, Frieza Ship. Not because I lost, but because it was so long. Because everyone in that match was derping. Like, Vegeta and King Cold, built for melee, yeah, I'm gonna spam. Hercule and Cooler, built for spamming, I'm gonna punch you. Frieza, built for spamming, he kinda did his job. Zarbon, he did what he was supposed to, but half the characters just weren't doing what they were built for, and they were also just flying around a lot, which just really dragged out the match. This first match this week was 16 minutes, and it really felt like it. Onto round. Also, I know it shows that for the round 2 match, Herc did 78,000. I'm telling you, about 20,000 of that is overkill. He ulted King Cold when King Cold was at like 3k health, so that's 15,000 damage. That's going nowhere. And he did a mess him up punch against Frieza when Frieza was also at like 500 health, so that's an entire bar of damage also wasted. Just. This match was there's a right way and a wrong way of showing off. He did it the wrong way the first time, but did it the right way in the third round. Moving on to the third round, it went much better than before. For one thing, the characters actually did what they were built for. Vegeta and King Cold, they were actually punching each other in the face. Hercule and Frieza and Cooler were actually using B2s. Although Supreme Kai did.
I was just gonna say, you could say built for things. I think a lot of Cold characters are a little more built for all-rounder. It just came down to getting their damage off, and because King Cold's definitely had a lot of weeks where he's been a spammer, but it just didn't matter, maybe as much as it did here when kind of dirking around.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just felt like you were kind of going long win on the same few notes, but in terms of like performances, yeah, I think it just round 2 everybody kind of derped around, and his team happened to have the characters out that benefited the best from it, where round 3 when it actually came down to a brawl, your team just performed better, which allowed for the win.
Yeah, towards the end of the last match, I actually fully expected to lose, because Herc was down a bar, King Cold had a bar and a half, Cooler had 2 bars, Supreme Kai just got annihilated in the match and only had a bar left. I fully expected King Cold and Cooler to just finish off my team, but then Herc
was like, nah.
Herc was just extremely motivated. He wanted to move to round 2. He wanted to fight Muscle. So he just finished off Cold and doing probably the best combo he ever did in League history when finishing off Cooler. with nearly 25,000 points of damage. Which is just insane to me because he almost. I don't remember a single time where he ever comboed his B2s like that.
Not that I can think of. But,
He just really wanted that victory.
And, with this, Cold Kingdom has some testing time to do. Their testing kind of looking decent. Aren't they testing like Final Form Frieza and Final Form Cooler?
Yeah, I mean they've always had a lot of. It's one of the blessings and the curses of Cold Kingdom is that they have a lot of forms to work with, but all the forms function so differently. Like the different cooler forms, like Final Form Cooler is not as much of a spammer as base form is. B2s become a lot harder to utilize in a spam fashion, and Final Form 100% Frieza are great spammers. Third form's like a weirdly melee rush blast. Second form's like a tank, and first form's like an all-rounder. So it's hard to utilize.
And
all
aren't
the
they also
forms
testing base Zarbon?
Yeah, but base Zarbon still functions pretty much the same as
grab.
Monster Zarbon. Still has a big grab damage, still has like the same melee combos. Everything basically functions the same, just slightly different B2s. And his little smaller character model, little different damage numbers, obviously, but not much. So, they obviously didn't have much of a postseason last year as well. I think if they did make it, I think they did. They also dropped out within the first round. I think they went to Rugrats.
Yeah, they made it past Reds last season and the Zelda Rugrats.
So, good on them for continuing to keep up as well in the playoff shenanigans, and obviously congratulations to you, Fiora, on getting to your first playoffs of the new generation, as well as, advancing to the next round as well. Shall we get moving on to predictions? Do you have any more questions for Fiora, Destiny?
No. At least,
I would just like to comment. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say at least none for this match. But go ahead.
So I would just like to comment on Cold for the off-season, specifically with their transformations. Because Frieza by himself has more transformations than most teams in the league have. So the sort of curse of what to choose for which form to go for must be very difficult, I imagine, for Cold. And especially the option of whether or not they want Cooler to transform at all, or whether to start him in his transformed state.
Yeah, there's also, because a lot of the transformations gain health, they have to be careful, because they can lose eternal life off that.
And characters like King Cold like eternal life.
Though, not necessarily required, but certainly is something that has been nicer to have than not.
How we get moving.
Yeah. Let's do those predictions.
Alright. Moving on, we have, of course, the predictions. With starting, we have North Kai, Bujins, versus Budokai, round 1. I honestly believe Bujins will take the round 1 for this.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I predict my team to get the win. Both teams coming in with a lot. Both should have a good chunk of quality and damage to utilize, and I just think my squad, albeit being the coach, is gonna be able to come out on top. We've also, I think, beaten Budokai in our last 6 matches. So, what about you, Fiora? What's your prediction for North Kai round 1?
This is a very difficult call for me to make, because I could see either team not just win this first week of playoffs, but just like this entire round bracket of playoffs. So I would have to give it to Bujins with a slight edge, because I just feel like Bujin's has a higher ceiling than Budokai does right now. And I'm not sure if Budokai has fully worked out all the kinks in their 5-man squad.
Alright, so that's 3-0 going to Bujin's. Now we have Isekai with ED versus Namek. This one's more of a toss-up for me, especially with how Namek did in the last 2 playoff matches. I think I'm going to have to give the slight edge to Namek, though it could honestly go either way for me.
Yeah, I think I'm going to give it to ED. I think both teams have a solid 5, and both are going to have hard times taking each other out. But I feel like when it comes down to it, I don't know, it's a hard one because obviously late Piccolo and Nova are very strong, but I do think ED just has a lot of power in a lot of their characters. So I feel like they have that slight edge of their 5 being I don't know, they feel a little bit cleaner right now, so I'm going to give it to them.
Similar to Doorguard, I would also have to give it to Earth Defenders. I just feel that when I hear Earth Defenders, I think of a much more terrifying team than when I think of Namek. When I think of ED, I think even their weak link is like 35k average at minimum. And their ceiling is just absolutely bonkers. And their characters have a higher ceiling than more of Namek right now. I could see Namek pulling off the win in the first round because they're a bit more adjusted to 5v5s at this stage, but I expect Earth Defenders to win it all for this guy.
Alright. So 2-1 going to 2-1 going to ED. Next we have Westkai with Rez versus Royals, which to me is more of a toss-up because we have seen Resurrected Warriors in a 5, but not with this team. And of course, this is Royals' 4th match going in a 5 setting, but technically their first season. So more of a toss-up for me, but I'm going to have to give the slight edge to Royals. Actually, I think they have what it takes to beat Rez in the first round.
I'm going to go with Resurrected Warriors. I just feel like, I don't know, you look at both squads, obviously both have very good, very strong points, and they also have their weak points, but I feel like the weak points, especially with Tapion probably coming back in for Yajirobe, means that Resurrected Warriors will have the slight advantage, which is what you need in this matchup.
I fully expect Resurrected Warriors to win here. Like, I just feel that they're just much more solid than Royals have been across the whole season. Like, they're 13-2 for a reason. They have one of the highest records in the history of the league. I highly doubt that Royals or really anyone except maybe Muscle could topple them. Although, who knows, I could be wrong, but I'm placing my bets on RW.
Royals did almost beat them in their main season match, but this is going to be a little bit different. So 2-1 going to RW. Moving on to the last Kai of the predictions, we have South Kai, Muscle versus Derp, and I actually think this will be a lot closer than people are expecting, but I'm going to have to give round 1 to Muscle. I just think their 5 is a lot more terrifying than Derp's, especially with 13 Broly and Trunks. But not to knock you, Fiora, and your team. I just think Muscle bring it home.
Yeah, I'm kind of in that similar boat. I also think what's it called? The map is going to play a big role because they have Namek and it's really obnoxious and has a lot of really obnoxious things about it that makes it really hard to deal with. So I'm gonna give the edge to Muscle here, at least for round 1.
You were right to put your money on Muscle because I don't just expect Muscle to win, I expect them to crush my team with little resistance. I expect at least one of the matches to just be a 4-man win or even less on their side. Muscle has been absolutely insane this season. Even Bojack on his tank build has been pretty scary and consistent. Like, their only real weak link is Raccoon, but I don't think that matters. Everyone else on Muscle is absolutely insane, and they're in playoffs now. Muscle always does much better in playoffs than they ever did in the main season, and they're already absolutely insane as it is. This is about as bleak as my prediction the last time I was on Capsule Cast. Like, I see no hope of winning. I'm going in guns blazing, trying to win. I just highly doubt I'm going to win here.
Alright. And with that, we are going to Muscle, but with that, we have come to the end of the Capsule Cast. There will be a link to the Twitter, the Discord, and the website in the description below. We don't bite. Come help us. Now that testing has started, you'll be part of the testing team. Door over here is head tester. Tell you all about it if you wanted to. But
Yeah, go on. Do all kinds of stuff. You gotta join the Discord first. Join in the community.
And hey, you know, you can just check out your favorite team, check out who you want, or just watch playoffs while supporting the team. But with that, I have been your host, Destiny.
I've been your co-host, Doorguard.
And I have been the guest, Fiora.
And we will be seeing you next time.
Have a good one.